Welcome to the Mild Opinion Podcast. I'm Logan.
I'm Luke.
And today we're going to be talking about the last season of The Boys that has just wrapped up.
Yes.
So, spoiler warning, if you haven't watched it all to the end yet, we're going to be talking about all of it. So,
Major spoilers for the entire show.
Yeah, don't watch it if you haven't already. Or don't watch this if you haven't already watched that.
Yes. Okay, so we've kind of talked about it a little bit already, just off camera, but what are your general thoughts on the season overall?
Season overall, that's the trouble, is that throughout all of it, I think the entire show is just like at a base level entertaining just because of the characters and what's going on and all that. So whenever we rank this kind of stuff, I feel like it's not like whether it's like good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like in general, like I think it should just be like whether or not it's good or bad for the show.
Sure.
And I think season 5 in general was all right. I'd say it was kind of in like the mid to low tier in terms of seasons.
Sure.
It had its highs and it had its lows, but all in all, it wasn't the best season or even close to it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like in terms of the show as a whole, it felt the least like The Boys. I mean, it's still like, it feels like it and stuff, but it feels like almost just like an afterthought where it feels very conscious that it's the last season, but in terms of like, oh, we need to wrap this stuff up, but also kind of like, how do we get from point A to point B of like, okay, at the beginning of this season, the boys are in the worst spot. We've seen them, and Homelander's as powerful as he's ever been, like, at least politically and such. And it's like, how do we get everybody to still raise the stakes of how dangerous he is, but also get everybody to a point of, we're going to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt rushed in weird ways, and it felt slow in weird ways. The highest points of the season were the first episode and the last episode, and everything in between kind of just felt like a lot of back and forth and like running in circles. The amount of conversations between Hughie and Butcher that were Hughie being like, you're just as bad as Homelander, but I love you, man, and stuff, and Butcher being like, you don't understand, kid, we ought to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Apologies for the horrible Butcher impression, but it felt like they were twiddling their thumbs a lot, and then by the time they actually wanted to escalate it, it's in the minds of everybody watching, because we've seen the comments and stuff on everything about the show, people being like, gosh, there's one episode left, there's 2 episodes left, and it's like, Homelander just got the thing that's going to make him like so powerful, and nothing seems to even be happening with that.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of, the pacing of the show was just weird.
Yeah, I agree. And I know, the means to the end and everything, like, Homelander's goal was, he became this huge political entity. And then from then, the next logical step is to become even more powerful and paint himself as a god, or the god, the one true god, whatever he wants to do. So, they take the steps toward that, like, that's fine. But it felt like, especially in the middle of the season, like, between like season 3 and or episode 3 and episode 6, that like every single episode was just like, the boys' plans are going to get foiled again, but also let's just watch 30 minutes of them talking about Homelander ruling out a political path for being God.
Yeah.
And it just kind of got boring. Like, it's just Father and Ashley talking about the political plan, how we're going to make them believe. Homelander's just saying stupid stuff about how he's going to show him he's the one true God. Like, it's just like the same stuff. And like that is the regular path that you would go down that. Cause like that was his goal. But like, I feel like you kind of gotta get there, or at least drop some more like little bits of Homelander being like terrible. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in terms of being completely terrible, he had a terrible plan, but he wasn't really doing terrible things. He was just going around muttering about how he's God. Like, he didn't really do much. He's just like, well, get all the psychics together to kill everybody. Like, okay.
It's like, that just seems like, what's the most, like, evil thing I can think of, but not, like, all the way thought through at the same time.
Yeah.
And this is something with Homelander in the final season here. we've talked about it on here before in a previous episode we did about the boys. He, throughout the show, his arc has been so much like coming more and more into peace with himself, but also like realizing his own strength and just like his position in the world and like the influence he has. And it's been a thing each season where he's like becoming not necessarily smarter, but more wise about like his own shortcomings. And like as egotistical of a character as he has gotten smarter. And when he's been able to see his shortcomings, like at the beginning of season 4, he's like, okay, like I'm on my way up, but how do I like keep this, and how do I like actually lock down my plan here? So he went to go find Sage and was like, I need your help. You're the smartest person. And he did that because he's like, yeah, you're smarter than me. Help me figure this out. And then in this season, I understand they want to be like, okay, he's just full lunatic. But he's been full lunatic, and I don't think even in his mind, him ascending to godhood should mean erasing his own development of like gaining this wisdom. If anything, it should like make him more conscious of like, how do I make everybody believe that, not just, all right, I believe that, make everybody else figure it out, and I'm gonna just be that now.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like a step, as much as it was like a step forward in terms of him like mentally snapping all the way, it was also like a step back in the growth that he has had for him just being a straight up evil villain.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. And the other thing too that we've talked about a little bit just beyond the podcast is that along with that, in his mind, getting the V1 and becoming immortal was the difference maker, and being like, oh yeah, like I am now like God. Like I am God now. I am immortal. I am all powerful. Like no one's strong enough to stop me. I'm God. And, you know, as far as we've seen, the people who had the V1, Soldier Boy, Bomb Sight, Stormfront, they were all insanely powerful just off rip, just because they had the V1. Mm-hmm. So you take the most powerful soup of all time, being Homelander, and give him the stuff that makes him, you know, immortal and all this stuff that's supposed to make him insanely powerful. You know, he takes it, does the whole thing where he hits the ground, shoots a laser in the air, Butcher tells everybody to run and all that. Then boom, next episode, normal. If you wouldn't have, if I did not watch that episode and then just skip past it and watch the episode after that, I would have never even guessed. There's no indication other than the fact that he's supposedly immortal, and they kind of talk about it. And they're like, oh, well, he won't die by the virus now. There's nothing different about him. Yeah. Nothing at all.
Well, and two, like something to just like think about in the course of the show here. When we have seen the full-on fight scenes where it is really powerful soups fighting each other, like back in season 3, there's the whole fight where Butcher shows up to Herogasm, and like Soldier Boy's there and Hughie's there, and they have like the Temp V and stuff, and they made Butcher seem even stronger than he was, since he has the V tumor thing going on. But Soldier Boy was there, who they've kind of made seem, even before the V1, on par with Homelander. Like that was the whole point of season 3, is he was Homelander before Homelander in terms of strength. Hughie with Temp V, Butcher with Temp V, who was, in my opinion, more powerful than season 5 Butcher with legit powers, and Soldier Boy, like prime Soldier Boy, not held back, just there to do what that he's been asked to do, versus standard Homelander. And they were really struggling because Homelander was not holding back and was just already that powerful. Mm-hmm. Like, he was still a big problem for them. And then to jump into season 5 here, we have Kimiko, Ryan, and Butcher break into the Oval Office and somehow V'd up Homelander, who seemed to be moving slower than normal, is getting his butt kicked. Like, he is putting up a fight, you know, and like throwing him around and using his lasers and stuff. But I feel like that Butcher, the Butcher that is in the room there, is not as strong as him and shouldn't be able to even tank a single hit from him. Ryan, who already got his butt kicked by Homelander relatively easily, even... Was that before the V1?
Yeah.
like also is not strong enough, and Kimiko has always been strong because of the regeneration. Not that she doesn't have super strength, but it hasn't seemed to be on par with the other soups. So it just doesn't seem right then that they're all able to like grab onto him and be like, all right, now like hold him down, when he's supposed to be even stronger than ever before. And it's something you said before we started recording, that I lost my train of thought here, but Homelander should not just be seemingly weaker since getting the V1. That doesn't make any sense. It should have actually made him seem almost invincible.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying too, is because like there was no difference in how strong he was. The only thing is that, I guess he was supposedly immortal. So I mean, sure, I guess like it would stop him aging and all that, but I'm like, you have like the most powerful version of V, the one that has created all these incredibly powerful soups. You're already the most powerful soup of all time. Why would that not make him like incredibly strong?
Yep.
Because there's the feats that he's had in other seasons before this also were just way more than like, trashing the Oval Office by throwing around Butcher and Ryan.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I'm saying too, because like the Hero-gasm fight between Butcher and Homelander, that was a complete knockout drag-out. Like, actually like duking it out, like they're bleeding, they're, hurting each other. And then it just seemed like in the Oval Office, it just, they were throwing each other around, punching each other, doing no damage, throw each other across the room, punch each other, do no damage. Like, they were both just fine. And then Kimiko blasts them, which, I don't want to crap on all of it the entire time.
No.
But there's just a lot of things to nitpick.
Yeah. There's one more thing I'll talk about with the finale that just doesn't like add up in just the way that I feel like it should have. And this is the last thing I'll say that's really outwardly negative about the last season, because I feel like we kind of broad-banded it here. But the whole thing with the Gen V stuff, it seemed like they were so shy to overstep beyond a cameo with Marie and Jordan and what is it, Emma? Yeah, Emma, and wherever Kate and Sam are and all this. But the whole point of Gen V, they kept saying in the previous season, like, oh, Marie is Project Odessa, which is like the same sort of thing as Homelander that he came from. Like, it's a special soup thing. Her power was proven in that show to be at a like molecular level dangerous to even somebody like Homelander. And my whole issue with that is the reason that they gave in the season for her not being around or involved in the main fight is because Starlight's like, oh, you can't control your powers, and like there's not hope and stuff like that. And it's like, Marie doesn't need to control her powers if she's going after one person. It's like, who are we worried about her hurting in here? Because send Butcher in with her. He doesn't care if he gets hurt if it kills Homelander. Kimiko can just regenerate. Everybody else has been in much more dangerous situations. Yeah. So like, I don't know what she thinks she's talking about and why recruit them in the first place if you're going to just be like, no. Yeah. Because, and this is something we talked about too, like, the reason that I can hear coming as to why it's not going to be that Marie was that big of a character is because the creators, people who will say this about the final season, and I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong because there's like arguments to be made for it, but the argument is going to be something along the lines of, oh, well, she's a Gen V character. She's not from the comics. Like, she shouldn't be involved in that. But it's also, the virus was introduced to viewers of this universe through Gen V, and it's like, did you need to watch it to understand what it does in the boys? No, but you can also bring in Marie and just give like a brief explanation of who she is, and also it's a good way to then beef up the fan base of your spinoff show here, to be like, okay, Marie is a big threat, make her the big threat that they said that she was to Homelander, and instead they're like, I have a new idea, let's give Kimiko the same power as Soldier Boy. Yeah. That's just weird, and it's the thing we were talking about, they're running around in circles the whole season being like, oh, this didn't work. This didn't work. This didn't work. And then their final plan worked way too well, way too quickly. And it's like, it took 5 seasons for them to, in 3 episodes, be like, give Kimiko the same power as Soldier Boy, knock down the door of the White House and just kill Homelander.
Yeah.
It's like, dang.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that just a little bit, and then we can move on to some other stuff just so we're not bashing it the whole time.
Yeah.
But with the Marie stuff, I just think it's insane because I'm like, if you don't want to make that your ending just because she's from a different show and stuff, and it's like, probably wouldn't be as satisfying as the boys getting it done themselves. So like, I get that. But at the same time, I'm like, if that's what you want to do, what was the point of even bringing her into this? Also, you bring her into this, into the actual boys itself, in one of her very few shots of her in the entire boys show, and it's them talking about how she's Homelander level. Like, MM is like, oh, this is the one that's the Homelander level power and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Why would you even bring that up if it means nothing?
Yeah.
But, so, aside from that, we'll move on from that, because that's whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as the running around and, like, going in circles and stuff goes, that's just one of the things that I think... I didn't hate the show. I didn't hate season 5. I did not hate the end. And we'll get to the parts that we liked and stuff in a minute. But I just think the whole time, they have this whole thing about the virus. It's the big plan. They get a couple episodes into this season. Dang, that was all for nothing.
Yeah.
Rats. Let's find something else. So then... They're like, well, we got to stop him from getting that V1. We'll have the V1 instead. So then we can. We're running around with that. They didn't do it. Dang. He's immortal. What are we going to do now? Nothing. So then we get to the episode before the last episode. They don't even have a plan. Yeah. All hope is lost. They're shot in the dark. Well, let's just maybe see if we can erase his power.
Yeah.
No one thinks they can do it. They don't even believe they can do it. And that wasn't even like a whole plan that they had. That was just a random thing that came up mid-episode when Hughie was like, what are you guys doing in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It did just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like,
just
we're giving her Soldier Boy power.
Yeah. Just a random shot in the dark. No one thought it was going to work. Then Frenchie dies, into the episode. We start up, the final episode. This is it. The final episode to end 5 seasons of them dealing with this problem. All these plans, all these elaborate schemes, over and over and over, nothing works. The final episode, they have Frenchie's funeral. They're like, well, we got to do something. They rage bait Kimiko into blasting him. They're like, it does work. Wow. Let's break into the White House and kill him.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. After all this, that's all it takes?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. The pacing was just insanity. I think that's part of the reason why, with all the other flaws and stuff that we mentioned, not a big deal. I don't feel inherently satisfied because I'm like, that was all it was.
Yeah.
That's all it was to just take him out.
Yep. It just like it's mainly the consistency of stuff that they've established about these characters and like the rules of this world and everything seem to just in the final season be extremely bendable to kind of be like, okay, well, I wanted to have a lot of fun with this, so now I actually have to be serious and figure out, oh gosh, it's 2 episodes left, how do I actually wrap it up?
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and go now into some strengths, because I feel like there are this season of the show did not ruin the rewatchability of the show in general, which is good. It's still the boys. It's just probably, in my personal opinion, probably the weakest season.
Yeah. Consistently,
and I know like season 4 wasn't as good as the previous 3 seasons, but it still felt a lot like the core boys show. So I'll start at episode 1 here. I think episode 1 was the best episode of the season because it still felt the most like the boys. It gave you it didn't really waste a lot of time with like, oh, where are the boys? What are they doing? What's going on? And it kind of jumped straight into right where you left off. Just it's been a little bit, but it's what you expect. Like they're in basically a concentration camp, and Frenchie, Hughie, MM are still kind of like them and still have plans and stuff. But my favorite thing, and I think something that was really strong about this season, is just the way that they wrapped up A-Train. was awesome.
I agree.
And even though it was just some random girl walking through the street, which I guess is supposed to be like mirroring when he ran through Robin and stuff at the very beginning of the show, and this time he had the presence of mind to be like, dang it, like, I'm gonna jump out of the way so I don't hurt this woman.
Yeah.
Even though he knows it's gonna get him killed by Homelander. But like that's been just a good character development thing of him actually being like, I'm gonna actually be a hero instead of just somebody pretending to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just very full circle for A-Train.
Yeah, I think episode 1 was a very strong point. And when it started, that was, when it started off like that, I mean, big points for A-Train, cool stuff with Homelander too, when he takes him out and all that. Like, there's just, felt normal.
Yeah.
Felt like we're right back where we were. And then, we go through, there's some lull moments and stuff. It's just a lot of the political stuff that we complained about earlier, like the middle of the season. It's just like, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
The Soldier Boy stuff with the virus, that was pretty cool too. I didn't mind that at all.
Sure.
And then I think I really did like episode 6. I thought episode 6 was pretty good.
Was that the bomb site episode?
Yeah, that was the bomb site episode. That was a good episode. They find the V1, they track it down. There's Goldie, bomb site. That's all cool. Cool. A little bit of lore too with Soldier Boy and stuff.
I know a lot of people were bashing on that with like, oh, they're just setting up like Vought Rising and stuff. But I felt like when I watched the episode, I was like, like, okay, maybe like a little bit, but it wasn't overpowering to the episode at all. It was just, how many times has there been a moment in the show where they're like, we need to find this specific soup because of their past with this. Like, it's happened every season. So it's not a big deal that he just happens to be in a spinoff.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like the way that it went. You know what I mean? Like, I think bomb site and all that was, it felt like a natural introduction to the character and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't like that they kind of character nerfed Soldier Boy in that when, because that was when he admitted that Homelander was stronger than him and all that. And I'm like, I know he said he'd done it for Stormfront and stuff. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if he would have done that really.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could ever see a world where he would just do that.
Yeah.
Especially because she's dead. Like, it's not like he's doing her any favors. So
sure.
Whatever. I guess it makes sense. I guess if that's his reasoning, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was fine. And then the other thing was the very end of that when he takes the V1, and we talked about this too, and he's shooting into the sky. I thought that was when it was about to hit the fan. Episode 7, and then the finale were going to be
unstoppable. Like,
insanity.
There's no reason for him to care what anybody thinks.
I was going to say, I thought that was the catalyst of oh my gosh, these last 2 episodes are going to be insane.
Yeah.
And then you jump back into episode 7.
Yeah. Just kind of peters out, and it's like, okay, let's just leave the breadcrumbs of where we're going with it so that it makes sense what we do in the finale. Also, as far as that stuff goes, I'll bring this up too. Episode 7, not my favorite. The stuff with Frenchie and Kimiko at the end, that was pretty all right. Yeah.
And then lastly, episode 8, the finale, pretty good. I liked the finale as a whole. Like I said, I just felt rushed. I did love the Homelander death being pretty accurate.
Yeah, and just straight up a depowered Butcher beating the crap out of Homelander. Yeah. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah. That was solid. And then the interaction between Butcher and Hughie with the virus at the end. Yeah. I think that was exactly how it needed to go.
It was very good, and it was back to, they were the first members of the boys that were introduced to too. And I felt like, you and I knew the ending of the comic books going into this. I don't neither of us have read the comic books, but knew in the comic books Butcher is pretty merciless all the way through about soups and stuff. So it wasn't a big surprise that at the end he's like, it's not enough that we killed Homelander, I'm not going to stop and stuff. But they did it in a way that didn't seem to harm this version of Butcher in the show, because this version of Butcher in the show is from what I understand, the comic book version, he's not as just evil as that final version of Butcher turned out to be. They kind of made it still very in character for what this Butcher would think, his interaction with Hughie wasn't like villainous or harsh or anything. It was just like Hughie, like it's not gonna work. If I don't do this. And then even when Hughie shot him, he's like, "That's fair, because I was not gonna not do it."
Yeah.
So I felt like it didn't harm the character of Butcher for him to take the dark turn that that they've been leading to for a long time. Yeah. So that scene was just very in character for the show.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are some things where I'm like, I wish it could have been different just with the finale and everything. But overall, pretty solid. Like, it didn't ruin it at all for me. I'm just nitpicking it a little bit. Just, like, small stuff, too, where, like, I don't know. I would have liked to see Butcher do a little bit more with, like, the Homelander fight. Kind of extend that a little bit.
Yeah, make it a little more painful.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that the way the Deep ended was hilarious.
Yeah,
just
that was solid.
The lead up to that was perfect, and just a stupid way to end a stupid character.
Yeah.
Very well deserved. And the little like post after thing, we said it before that like this show could have very easily been like, oh, Homelander wins and kills everybody.
Yeah.
They tried to go with the happy ending over that, and it's okay that they did, because it's like, yeah, these characters have been through a lot. I guess they don't really need to all die and get killed and get a really complicated ending. It is just like season 5 as a whole, it felt like was about half of what it should have been throughout. Like, each episode felt like there was something missing from it. And in some episodes, like the finale, it's a little more clear as to what was missing. But it's my least favorite season, but I'm not going to hate it that much. And I think it'll grow on me some, but I'll always kind of have a feeling of like, it should have been something different here.
Yeah, and I kind of agree, because I also just feel like right now it's like easy to just be like, oh, like it wasn't that bad, like it made sense for the story and like the ending was perfect, stuff like that. But I will just say, before you go out and you watch it, whether or not you hated it or loved it, watch a little bit of season 1, or rewatch all of it and then watch it and then come back and just be like, dang, like it really is vastly different.
And that's the thing about like season 1 is so like characteristic of what the whole show is like, in terms of like the crassness, the like jokes, the violence, and like how the story goes and everything. And season 1, 2, and 3 all are just straight up pretty top tier the whole way through, like in terms of the story, the action, and the interactions of characters and their dialogue and stuff. Season 4 still had some like high moments and stuff, but it did feel like, okay, when are we getting to the point here? And then season 5 just kind of felt like a shell of that almost. Like it made me be like, man, remember how good season 1 through 3 were?
Yeah.
And that's what I really hoped season 5 would be, was kind of like, okay, season 4 is not that good, and then we'll be top tier for season 5. But it just didn't hit that.
That's kind of the same way that I felt about it. Like, and like we always say whenever we do stuff like this, we're not saying it's inherently bad. We're not saying we absolutely hate it. You know what I mean? Like, and if you don't agree with it, like, that's fine. We can have different opinions, but just objectively, I just feel like it's safe to say that this was one of the worst seasons compared to, some of the earlier ones.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say that's like a criticism is, I feel like we should have had something more complete with Black Noir. Like the new Noir just seemed like he got killed off because they were like, oh crap, what are we gonna do with this guy?
Yeah. And another thing that I was gonna say too is like, they kind of just randomly killed him off, even though like his whole thing was like he kind of just got brought into it.
Yeah.
Just because they needed someone to fill the spot, and that pretty much amounted to nothing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of stuff that happened, especially in season 4 and 5, is they would do stuff and it would make sense in the storyline, but then again it'd be like, well, that was all for nothing.
Yeah.
Like Black Noir was there for nothing, essentially. I mean, just to fill in for old noir. But
Yeah.
like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, just kind of a stand-in.
Yeah, just stuff like that. And then like with season 5 too, like I know it was because of, you know, Homelander trying to put out that like he is God and all that. Like I get it, but I'm like, we didn't even meet Father until season 5.
He gets so much screen time.
Yeah, and then he's constantly like we see him more than we see Butcher and Huey in this season.
Yeah, he was
I'm
in
like,
it so much.
He just shows up out of nowhere.
Which is like, it's fine. It fits what's going on in the season, but it's like, we get it. We get it at a certain point, you know?
Yeah, and then like, and that's the other thing. We've never seen or heard of this dude before, and all of a sudden he gets all this screen time, and he has backstory ties with Annie, and everybody knows him, and I'm just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Which I didn't hate Father either, and like I said, he fit into the story, but at the same time, it's just another one of those like, I mean, I guess,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I reckon,
and then just constant Father. Over and over and over.
Over and over and over. Every other scene, Father, Father. Like,
so yeah, just not as peak as the show has been, but not as bad as it could have been. Honestly, the finale, I went in with low enough expectations that it was much better than I thought it would be. So that was a perk.
The finale was solid.
Yeah.
There were just things that I would have liked to have seen that were a little different, but it was mostly just time management related things.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it that we got to talk about it. But this has been the Mile Opinion Podcast. If you've made it this far and have now had all of the boils spoiled for you, sucks.
Yeah, we totally tried to tell you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.